Welcome to the Therawake Podcast. You are in the right place. I am your host, a qualified therapist, and I will have a number of guests coming to speak to me to share some gems of wisdom to give to you, the listeners. If you like what you see, remember to like, share, and subscribe so that the more people who subscribe to this podcast, then the more we will be able to have some guests in the studio. Remember to click on that notification bell at the bottom so each time a new episode is uploaded, you'll be notified of it. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Therawake Podcast. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for staying tuned in on the platform. Today we'll be speaking on a topic called Aging with Grace, and I'm very honoured to be here with Fatima. Fatima Fernandez is somebody who I am hugely encouraged by and inspired by as well. And we'll get a little bit more information about Fatima, and how we know each other is through our clinical work. And I guess our shared passion in humanity and fighting injustice. But I'm not going to say anything more about Fatima. I'm going to hand over to you and just first of all welcome you to the Therawake Podcast.
Thank you, Judy. I'm very pleased to be here.
Wonderful. So we kind of embarked on making this happen a little bit by accident, because you were speaking to me about, your hobbies, your interests, and recovery after surgery as well. And I was pretty struck by your energy and zest, especially as an older woman. But could you tell me a little bit about you and I guess how you came into this work?
I came into this work after quite a few years. I've lived in England since 1967. I came to join my sisters and that were already living in this country. And then, my life developed. I got married. I had a family. And life was really hard, or really difficult. There wasn't much money. And then when I was in my own country, which is Portugal, my education was quite basic because, unless you had financial means, you wouldn't be able to actually develop or move on with your education. So I came here with basic education. So my early 30s, I think, I decided, no, I'm going to really join evening classes. So I did. So joining this evening classes, that I could actually see the building from the flat where we were living. And then I thought, no, one day I'm going in. So I did. And so I joined, I did O-levels, follow up. And then I met an amazing woman, which she's dead now, Caroline Ben, who actually was doing an introduction to the Open University. So I thought, I'm going to put myself forward for that. I did. And it was hard because I had to continue to work and do my ordinary job because we needed the money. Anyway, so it took me a few years because I I couldn't stop completely to do that. But then at the same time when I was doing the Open University, I went into summer school, and then I met another amazing woman there, and what she was a lecture that she was giving brought counseling into my mind. And then I thought, this is what I'm going to do. So counseling, yes. So I kind of held on the Open University for a little while, did my counseling training, then finished my Open University and took a psychology degree. So then, I kind of went into work, did various trainings in different places. I always had placements where I would either use or work with drugs and alcohol, or trauma, any kind of trauma, particularly with women, with either physical and sexual trauma, which I really then to me was, I really felt that was for me, even though I continue to work with drugs recovery. This has been my life for a little while. And I knew when I started my counseling, I thought, this is me. This is what I want. I don't want to do anything else. I don't have ambition to actually direct people or do anything else. This is when I feel at home, and that's what I continue to do. And I'm 70. I'm going to be 76 in 2 weeks or so.
Wow.
And I'm very happy how I am with with myself. But if I wanted to, age is an interesting thing. I don't feel sad because I'm this old. I feel quite content within myself. But if I had many more years in front of me, I'll continue to do the work that I enjoy. This is I'm determined to continue to do this. Last year was really hard because I had things happen to me. I had an accident. I had to have it was quite a major operation, and I'm still recovering from it. But I never ever doubted for a moment that I would continue to do the work that I do, and that's where I am today. Yeah.
Wow. Happy birthday when it comes.
Thank you.
Premature happy birthday. Yeah, I mean, I could listen to you for such a long time because you have such grace in what you say, but I want to dig a little bit deeper because you're quite modest in what you do.
I know.
Because you said, you came over, you got married, had a family, so you had a life. It's not like you were 21.
I was in my 30s. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's encouraging for women to know that they can start studying at any age, they can change career at any age. Because sometimes when women get to a certain milestone, they think, oh, you know what, I'm just going to have to stay in this profession or in this career, or I've got the kids, or actually you kind of reinvented yourself after 30.
Yes, I had to find a way of getting through because I knew for certain that I couldn't stop working completely because we were depending on both of us, depending on the money, but on a wage. So, but I had to find ways. So I had to be in the evening, and also Open University gave me the opportunity to actually also do it part-time, and when I couldn't, but for example, pay for the summer schools, the great Ken Livingstone was still in charge of that amazing building, and he actually paid for my summer school fees. So that was, I'm just I'm very determined. If I start something, I will finish it. But I also feel that I'm glad that I have something in me that I'm not going to give up. I won't give up, and I'll continue to find a way, and but also enjoy the journey, enjoy what I do. And
I know you do. I know you do. I know you do through profession when we through our work. I know that the passion and the joy and the commitment that you speak with about your clients, and I don't see that often. And the fact that you can connect with generations of children, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, above.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing to me because, when I work with different therapists and counselors, they might say, oh, I can only work with this age group, or I'm not really familiar with older, or I'm not. And you just work with human beings.
Oh, no, that's not for me. I actually am very aware that the places where I work, if I'm really determined to continue to work with all different ages because I know I can relate to them. They relate to me because I think I've also noticed sometimes a surprise in some people, I can maybe be familiar with certain things or subjects, whatever. And but it's very important, and we keep active, and we keep kind of follow those, because I would hate to see myself or see anyone really being put into a box. You can only do this. You can only see these people. And I work with both men and women as well, so that's important. So and
no, that's good. It's important. And can we go back a little bit? Can we go back to, you said you came here when you were a child from Portugal, and you came as an immigrant.
Yes, I was 20.
You were?
I was 20 years old.
20 years old. So you came very young into the UK, and obviously Portuguese culture, UK culture, it's completely different. Sure. What was that like settling into the UK? Were you welcome? Was it difficult, challenging?
It was very difficult, very difficult. It really is. It's a long time ago, but those difficult moments, I remember them so well. And this is why I was so glad that my sisters at those first 4 years they were around, because we had a very strong bond. We were always very close, but it was clearly we weren't really. We were used because we needed to do the jobs that people didn't want to do around. So, and that was quite tough. Not the work, because the work we were used to, to hard work, but it was, we lived in Surrey, and then it was quite I only realize now what it is, about before I wasn't racism, and it was quite obvious very at times, and it was hard, and so those first 4 years were not very easy. But when I moved to London, then things got easier. You met different people. I work in hotels all the time, so that there were
Right.
you have mix of people there. It was easier, but it
Makes a difference, doesn't it? Just to be in a multicultural society where, you're not kind of standing out. But it doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist in London.
Oh, oh yes. Unless we're blind, or even we can feel it if we're blind. Because anyway, but it's everywhere. It's all around us.
Yes.
But I'm so determined that I'm glad that I found my voice, and that encourages me to continue to fight that, and in my own way. I'm not one that to start fights here or there or anywhere, but I know that my voice is important. The experiences I had with working with the elderly, that I volunteered for many, many years, up to 10 years ago, I did a lot of that. So I had a lot of experience dealing with that, because it was hard. And whenever, if I had to go take someone somewhere, they would talk directly at me, not at the person that I was with. And this still happens. I still see it today. So that is, injustice.
That's sad. That's sad. This is 50 years on.
Exactly. But it still happens. Not very long ago, I was with a very, very good friend of mine in a big supermarket. She was complaining about something, and then she was dealing with the stuff that she needed to do. She was perfect. She clearly is clearly much more professional than I am, and able than I am. And the woman kept looking at me all the time, and I moved back. I was back, but I moved back even more. In the end, she continued to do the same thing. So I just walked away and turned my back, because it didn't feel fair. So it still goes on. Part of me misses that. I do that now with a friend close of mine that needs, I'm very close to, and we sometimes go out and do things together. But my volunteer work has stopped, because I know that now I need myself all for myself. I'm not being selfish, but I'm being realistic, and I need to take care of myself now.
Absolutely. It's your time. It's absolutely your time now. And tell me a little bit about your, what keeps you going, like hobbies, interests, friendship groups, family.
Oh, family is important to me. But my sisters all have moved away, but we still see each other quite a lot. I travel to them, and they travel to me sometimes, to us sometimes.
Nice.
And I travel quite a bit. I haven't done much this year because of what happened because of my accident, but I hope to continue to do that. Usually once a year I do a big travel somewhere, or I join a group. It's important, but always better to join a group. That's what I feel for myself. But I love the theatre, and I go when I can, and
Nice.
I think finances also come into it, but I always try to do something, and love museums. Have good friends that when I can, we go together. And if you can't, I go on my own. That's that's how it is. And there's I think London is an amazing place. I don't want to live anywhere else. London is my home. I love my country. I'm passionate about food. I'm passionate about the language, all of that, those things. And I go at least 2 times a year. But there's so many things here that we are able to do without needing to spend too much money.
Absolutely. I mean, we spend enough on taxes and everything else, but
yes, we pay in a different way, of course.
Yes. What do you mean by that?
Well, I still pay my taxes, and it's weird that I'm all this age and I still have to pay so much tax with the work that I do. That's something that I accept, but that I'm not happy with.
Yeah. How do you think, actually, that's a really good point. How do you think society treats, yourself at an older age, like paying taxes, and you're soon to be 76 years old?
Judy, realistically, we are ignored by society in general, by a lot of people in society. When we go anywhere, even in work, sometimes, you hear people that, they engage with you, but there is something missing there. And if there is someone else maybe that more interesting or younger, that they'll go to that. They'll go to them. That's quite obvious. And we have a pension. We receive, and we still have to pay tax in our pension. Is crazy. It doesn't make sense. But this again, I have to accept it because I have to continue to work, and I'm happy that you pay, but I pay my taxes. But I think we deserve more than we are actually given. I don't think pensioners, in particular in this country, are very well treated. My own country is not very good either, but I'm living in this country. This is what
this is what you see. This is what you know, right?
Yeah.
And there's I'm glad you raised that about society, almost not seeing you, not being respectful, the invisibility.
Yes.
And I think in working with you, to be fair, it helped open my eyes to just look at how older people are treated. And I remember after we came off a call, I went out to my local supermarket, and there was a lady at the meat section. So I'm at the meat section, she's at the meat section, we're kind of browsing. And then she had loads of shopping in her hands, and then she dropped her oranges. And then she went, "Oh, I'm really sorry." And she was apologizing. So I bent down and I picked up the oranges and I said, "You need a basket." And she looked a little bit astonished, and she stood back. And I said, "Would you like a basket?" And then she looked me up and down, and because I'm not in the uniform, I don't work at the supermarket, I've got my own basket. I said, "Hold on, let me get you a basket." So I went and got her a basket, put her groceries in, and said, "There you go, that's better."
Yeah.
And then she was just like, "You've seen me."
Yeah.
So that's so kind. And I just thought, isn't that something that is a normal thing? Like, she could be my grandmother. And we had a really beautiful conversation about that. She was just saying, yeah, after a certain age, after about 55, 60, no one really sees you, no one pays attention to you. Sometimes the only conversation you have might be the person at the bus stop, because the phone stops ringing, grandkids are bigger, they're not dependent anymore, so they don't need to go to grandma's. No one really comes to visit her, and we were having a really nice exchange, and I felt this huge sense of guilt for her, but just for my blind spot of not noticing older people because I'm in my tunnel vision, and it's a lack of respect. And that's why I was inspired to get you on the podcast, because even if it inspires one person, hopefully more than one person, to just be more intentional in seeing older people. We're all going to get there if we're blessed to see a ripe age of 76, right? Because it's a blessing, not many make it, right? And we're going to get there, and we shouldn't be having the same conversation in 50 years' time.
And it's so true. And you said something when you spoke to this woman that I always try to do myself, is we don't just impose ourselves on someone, we ask them. And this is something that doesn't happen very often. And why I'm, maybe a little bit more aware of this, not because I'm older now, but it's because I've done this for a long time. I didn't just visit people for a little while. I visit them until, the end of their lives. But I was only engaged, I would only engage with one person, and then, until that time came. And so I knew what it was like. But
Yes.
now it's interesting because I see myself in that place at times. And
It's
and that
hard.
and it is hard. It's painful. What's fascinating is people sometimes just they're so tunnel vision.
Yes.
They think we don't notice.
Yes. That's it. And that's the guilt,
Makes me
really.
angry. This makes me angry, really.
Yeah. And tell me about that anger, because that anger, at least we're talking to express it, but I wonder what it feels like when you do feel that anger and rage, that people are making decisions for you or not asking, and then you'll feel that implosion of anger. What does that feel like?
Well, it's uncomfortable. It's painful. It's hard to feel it, but it makes me so much more determined when I need to speak up. If I feel that I've been treated not fairly, I actually, I'll say something. I was really taken back by. I went to the theatre, last week, and this particular theatre in London actually has a space where makes this was the first time I've seen this, because we've had the cheaper tickets are always very much at the top, and this is the only theatre that actually has they have someone that helps people around. They take them around to the back, up the elevator, and find a way of getting people out upstairs, make it easy for them. This was something very new for me, because I've never experienced this before, because she actually, the person went with me all the way up to the top, and I can walk, but I still, it was quite a long walk, and I still needed some help. But
And theatres are old, they're old buildings, listed buildings, a lot of them. So they're quite,
I understand that, but still, I think some of these old buildings some of them have been renovated. Like, for example, tube stations. There's no excuse for the tube station nearby that was done is completely new, and there's still no lift. It's out of order. It's out of order. So those things are things that are very important to me, or people, not just people that are older, but people that also have some disabilities, because there are a lot of us. There are a lot of people who need help.
And you don't realize your mobility until you come across an accident, or you have a diagnosis with something, and what you took for granted, then you realize, oh, I need access, I need accessibility. And maybe the mayor of London or the mayor of the different cities around the UK, they're not paying attention to all of that,
Exactly.
and
Judy,
we're changing society.
I was when I had my accident, I was so determined, never for a moment did I think I'm not going to walk again, or I'm not going to work again. I was so determined, because I've just did all that I needed to do, and even more so, to actually to be mobile, because I know that it's difficult.
Yes.
And then the facilities are not always there, so you have to fight and work hard for that. So it hasn't been easy, but I'm very glad that I've done what I've done. And
I mean, when you speak about fights, gosh, this is so hard for me, because I find fighting to be it's so harrowing. And in the society that we are in, you've got to fight to get a GP appointment. You've got to fight to get on the bus or the train. You've got to fight, fight, fight. And it causes stress.
Exactly.
And why I'm finding it difficult is because I'm thinking, hold on a minute, you're 76. Like, why should you be fighting? What? Where's the justice in that? Is what I'm thinking.
I think fighting, maybe maybe it's not the maybe I can change that, fighting to determination. No, something may happen, but I will not give up. I'm going to do whatever I can to actually to continue to do what I can, and what I
Yeah.
do, and continue doing what I enjoy. But it is, it is hard, painful,
Mm.
really, when the ordinary things that are so basic to most of us, to all of us really,
Yeah.
that are not always available. And this happens in, I know I've been to hospitals with people visiting, and still, they're saying things that are not even true sometimes, where, but they want to go home. No, they don't. They're scared stiff of going home because there's no help when they get home, so
Mm.
it can, there are still injustices, and we can do whatever we can to actually manage that, but it's still hard when we still have to fight, let's say, to get the things that we all deserve and need.
Yes.
Yeah,
And determination, you mentioned about being determined,
yeah.
and I wouldn't even put age in this. I would just say generally. I think there are some people who find it genuinely difficult to persevere due to,
Mm.
it could be depression. What if somebody's going through depression, or, the start of dementia, or, they've just got a lot on their plate, even to call the GP as
Yeah.
an older person, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, but you're number 32 in the queue and you've got to hold, or
Mm.
even to connect, like we're doing now, like you're very tech savvy, which is great. A lot of older people would absolutely be alarmed to have to log on a computer, look in a camera, and work. Like, you work online as well. You work with clients in this way. And I'm curious about where you get that zest for life and that determination from.
And that has been a difficult thing for me. Let's say technology, new technology, and working online. I'm not technically minded at all. I connect with people. I can be with them. I can be with the hardship that very often is in the room, and that to me is, I feel it, but we can do it. But technology is not something that really I'm very comfortable with, or I really like. I don't. I do it because I need to, and. But it's but what I also find that I know that people, the older generation really, find it very hard often to ask for help, and we
Mm.
can ask for help. I always encourage also people, we don't have to be embarrassed about it. It's just it's something that is shouldn't happen, but people do because they feel, or even their own family, because they live far away, or they are so busy. But we can ask for help. We
Yeah.
can ask for help. We need to ask for help.
I mean, you're very confident. You're very confident, I must say. And Fatima, there's a saying which is once a man, twice a child,
Uh-huh.
and older
Yeah.
people are treated like children and babies. When children and babies, they can't make decisions for themselves. Their parents, carers, aunties, uncles, teachers, they kind of say, all right, you're going to eat this, or this is where you're going to go to school. They make those decisions. And it's like there's a full circle when you come of age or a certain age.
Very true. A friend of mine who needs a carer, and who was very able to actually express herself and actually do everything, arrange her life in the way that she wanted. But still, when people come into a space, they still want to, want to say, "You do this." No, this is not what I want. But we have also to be aware of all in certain situations where a lot of people are able to actually express themselves or ask for things that they need. We perhaps need to be aware of how we use the language that when we speak with people like that. We need to be conscious of that, and adapt, and try to put ourselves maybe in their place a little bit to see, because it's scary, what you can do is, or we can do, our responsibility, like, for example, a neighbor was clearly mental health issues, really, and I didn't even know his name. But I knew this man was in trouble. So I thought, no, I'm going to actually ring the services. And I did, and it took a long time, and they came many times. They couldn't find him, but he was in trouble. And then in the end, they managed to find him, and it was he recovered, and I've seen him in the street now. But we don't have to know people. We don't even have to give our name. We don't have to, just. So that's what I did, and they wanted me to kind of, oh, give me your number. No, I'm not going to give you my number. This is the person. This is where he lives, and I've seen it, and it's and then so we have to. So it's very important to me when I can to use my voice to someone who maybe is not able to.
Right. So you're the voice of the voiceless, and
yeah, I try. I try to.
You definitely are. I know the work that you do, and I know your passion with injustices, especially with women. You work with men and women, but especially with women in particular who face abuse, whether it's historical abuse, recent abuse events. And, you have a lot of compassion and empathy. But we're in a society now where people turn a blind eye to situations where people are suffering, whether it's the homeless, not sure what to do, because if you give money, are they going to spend it on drugs? Do they genuinely need it? Are they scammers? So people tend to pay attention when there is something horrific happening, like a fight that's happening, or they get out their phones and they film it and they post it up on social media and all of that. But just watching somebody deteriorate, someone's mental health, a neighbor, you don't have to know them, but you knew what they were like before, and you're watching the suffering. And I don't know if it's whether people don't know where to go, they don't want to get involved, they're scared of repercussions.
I think a lot of that is involved, but I also think there is a tendency for people, for some people, not to ignore it. Not, caring is a hard one for a lot of people. And they can use all we don't even need an excuse not to do something, but actually we don't have to do too much. This man, I'm not the only neighbor that he had. He's moved, but I know where he is more or less. But he's I think that we must not accept that we can't do something about it. Of course, we can't change the world. We can only make a little bit of difference. But having compassion, not pity, compassion is very important. And also, when we walk around, I live on a big estate, and I walk around, people say hi to me, and then we don't have to go into each other's homes all the time, but it's being part of the community. And I think in where I live, there's a little bit more of that. And but it's people that make it. It's not just we have to kind of put ourselves forward a little bit. And that not so much now, but in the past I was involved in the community quite a bit, and that helped. But I'm always curious. Being curious is a very important thing for me. If we stop being curious, then the tendency we get a little bit stuck.
A little bit stuck up, stuck in.
Exactly.
And then the tunnel vision starts, right? So yeah. Listen, you've given so much gems today, so many gems, and I'm sure there's more to come. And if you were to give the listeners, like anybody listening, they could be of an older age, or they have relatives or neighbors that are older, what gems or words of encouragement would you give somebody who's watching today and they're inspired by your zest for life?
Well, I think it's I would encourage, if someone is younger, do some voluntary work. You don't have to actually, you can 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week. It's more, it's plenty. If you have a busy life, there's no excuse not to do something in the community, I feel. And for the older generation, I know there are Age UK, used to be Age Concern, who I volunteered for many years. Ask for help, ring them up. If they don't have the details of something, they will find it for you. If you're not able to actually do it yourself, they will do that. And so find out any organization around you. You know, if you are involved in the church, then through the church or whatever, you know, just find a way of, if, and then a neighbor, ask them, could you do this for me? Can you ring these people up for me? Whatever. Yeah. Make yourself be heard.
Make yourself be heard. Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. Thank you so much for gifting us with your gems and bits of your story. And wishing you an amazing birthday in a couple of weeks' time.
I will. I celebrate my birthday. It's important.
And I know you love to travel as well. That's one of your passions.
Oh, I've been so many parts of the world. It's just amazing. It's just wonderful memories that I've created and that are really important. And I, you know, as a kid, I never ever even dreamed that I could. When I used to look up, because we were so poor, I used to look up and say, I'm never going to be on a plane. And then look, I mean, I don't even like flying, but I have to fly because I want to see.
You want to get there.
Exactly. And so that's one of the things that I'm so glad I've done it, and I'll, you know, when I can, I will continue to do. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And obviously we'll see each other soon. Thank you so much for spending your day, your morning, just being interviewed and sharing. And yeah, all the best. And you are so respected and heard. And your family, your friends, your community are very blessed to have you as a part of their system.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right, be well. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Therawake listeners. And until the next time, bye for now.